we're
Yeah.
live. Yeah, the new merch, mine, not for subscribers or anything, not yet. But
Nice.
I do so
Nice.
many tele sessions, whether it's training fellow therapists or seeing clients, that it's good to give them a
Wow.
little something to look at. It's my philosophy on it. So, welcome,
Certainly.
welcome. I'm here with the illustrious Dr. Paul, and we are discussing the amazing new pro positive masculinity movie, the adaptation of Stephen King's story, The Long Walk. I'm introing you today since I was hosting the invite.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank
Yes,
you.
of course.
Dr.
Romantipedia
Paul here,
creator.
as usual. Yes. And founder of menspsychology.com 20
Oh,
years
yes.
ago. 20 years ago. And it's funny, it is now a thing. It's
Oh,
funny,
it's a
it's
big
now
thing.
it's a new it's the newest field of psychology, which is really strange. I guess I'm glad I bought all the websites associated with it back then. People thought I
True.
was crazy. They were like, "What? Why do men need a psychology? They don't need their own. I mean, they're part of psychology."
Right.
Anyway, um,
No, good point.
but
I mean, it circles back around. I think
yeah,
society was different when it was when it was pioneered, rather, and a lot of principles were discovered. And then it now is going to, well, what are men's current concerns and what is real, authentic masculinity? Which is a very important question.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a question already on the line. I don't think I'm gonna answer it just yet, but geez.
Oh, it's from Upholding the First. Yeah. Hey,
Yeah, I got a
dude.
lot to say about that, but
Well, and we can address it sometime if you want. He's a great guy. He actually is in other chats. He joins in on this call-in show every Thursday from Catherine D, who does like
oh
a
wow,
radio show
sure,
tribute. Like, you remember Coast to Coast Radio with Art
yeah,
Bell?
oh
Like,
yeah.
so she's a huge
This
fan.
is Art Bell, the
So she'll
aliens.
do
Yeah.
episodes of like call in about possession stories or your dreams. And so
Oh,
Upholding the First,
nice.
he'll call in a lot with stories about like spies and stuff that he's interacted with, and people in like actual support groups, like, because in AA people will share their like literal war stories, sometimes just really wild stuff.
Oh wow.
Just fascinating stuff, to be honest. So, hi to
Well,
all the viewers. Yeah,
I,
good to have
I'm
you
gonna have
here.
a question for you of that ilk for but definitely some other time
Yeah,
because
yeah.
of your background, your knowledge base. I had a friend inform me that he believes that in dreams, and this is based on theologians that he follows and knows of. And he says in dreams, that's when demons can like insert their ideas into you and so forth. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I want to honor theological interests and so forth, but at the same time, I know dream analysis, Freud. It's an
Mhm.
entree for EMDR and so forth. But I
Yeah.
just wanted you to answer some other time what you think of that idea,
God,
that
that's a good question.
dreams are
Yeah.
bad and this sort of thing, or are they both, and so forth. All
Mm,
right. But speaking of, demons and evil things, Stephen King.
brilliant segue. Totally. Yeah. Yeah. His wheelhouse, if
So,
you will.
yeah, so it's his first story, a short story, right? The
Mm,
Long Walk.
right.
And he's an old guy. He's been writing forever. So times have changed. Sociology
Mhm.
has changed.
Yeah.
And I find that interesting, given that The Long Walk is if nothing else, a parable about the Vietnam War. The
Yes.
pointlessness of the Vietnam War is probably where
Mhm.
he started, but being so deeply, richly psychological, you and I, of course, have like all kinds of avenues to take with this
Yeah.
first story of Stephen King's. A lot of hearts coming out there. Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
We've got some good, passionate viewers here.
So, well, you saw it before me. I
Mhm.
went out and saw it a couple days after you. Why don't you summarize the plot in
Yeah.
your view? And I can chime in with other things.
Yeah, absolutely. So the story starts out in like an alternate version of the 20th century, so the 1900s, where, and I would say it looks to be between like the 50s and 70s.
Yeah, kind of
Really?
Vietnam time,
Yeah, with
the
the
cars.
cars.
Yeah.
Yes. So in this world, young men can register to go on the long walk where each contestant uh, has to walk at a rate of 3 miles per hour. And if they fall under that, they receive three warnings. And on the after the third, the person is executed. So they have to keep walking. They can only stop for a few seconds and then they'll get a warning. And that can be used tactically. And you'll see in the movie, you can take a break, adjust something, and keep going. And it resets every hour. I remember that being a point. Like, so you get three warnings within like an hour. It's very interesting. So we follow Ray Garrity, who's our main, one of our two main characters, as his mother drops him off for the walk. And then as
And
he
the real life
joins,
son of Philip Seymour Hoffman.
yes, brilliant point. And he's also good in Licorice Pizza, that movie, by the way. Little plugs for that one. Anyway, so Ray's dropped off by his mom, who's obviously hysterically sad because she knows her son's going to either win this or die. Because there's only one winner, and it's the person who walks the longest. Everyone else dies by process of elimination, literally. So, he meets a young man named Peter McVries. Is that how it's pronounced? McVries.
Yeah,
Anyway. Yeah.
McVries. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I thought. McVries, right. So he meets, so these two talk, and they talk with a tribe of other young men who, and there's kind of a tighter cast of them there, but there's really Ray and Peter, and they talk, and you get to follow them through montages of different days where you learn what their motivations are. So Ray is very tightly guarded about his motivation for most of the movie. And then he tells Peter in confidence, like, hey, the person in charge of this walk, the major, who's played brilliantly by Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker himself,
Mm.
he killed my father. So I want revenge. I want to win the walk. And when you win the walk, you get a huge amount of money and you get one wish granted, some kind of huge wish. And he's going to wish for a gun. He's going to assassinate the major, right? This character who is the one barking in a tank that goes a bit ahead, I believe, of the boys as they're walking. And so all of these young men are walking 3 miles an hour, um, in a military procession with armed guards who will shoot if they get three warnings, and that's it. They're dead. So Mark Hamill's barking and commanding presence is a big one throughout the movie. He's kind of this main face of this totalitarian government where winning money through being one survivor of, few dozen men is like a way out of poverty. And so throughout the story, um, there's different characters and archetypes that show up. So um, Ray and Peter are kind of this positive masculinity archetypes. You've got one who wants to avenge his father, Ray. Peter comes from, you can assume, very traumatic background, has nothing to lose, and he is very unflappable because he's just seen so much and he has nothing to lose. So you also see characters like a documentarian, a young man who wants to document and sell the story of everyone in the long walk. So he goes around interviewing, and he
Right.
eventually breaks his leg, keeps walking on it, and is executed. And you've got one named Barkovich, who is the longer blonde haired kid who initially starts a fight with another contestant, gets them eliminated by, like, they fall over and he has them shot. And so that shakes him, it shakes all the boys. Barkovich is like this smaller antagonist who shows that he's not going to assimilate to the camaraderie. Most of the young men, I was shocked by how much they're getting along, knowing only one can win. Well, Barkovich is like, hey, everybody dead is better for me. So he turns out toward the end to kind of, he wants to be part of the group, and he snaps, and um, I don't know if it'll disincentivize our video if I use the S word. So let's say he um, eliminates himself, and that shakes them. So you see the men's different, these young men, very young men, late teen boys. I think you have to be 18 to join something. They're all very young. And you
Yeah.
see the stress get to them in different ways. One runs and goes for guns, executed. Barkovich can't take the guilt of getting someone else executed. You've got the major's illegitimate son,
Right.
who's one of the final contestants, who says it was an honor to be with you, and then he, sits down or stops walking. So by the end of it, you've got Ray and Peter, and Ray says, "Okay, keep walking, Peter," and then he sits down. Peter's left, and he fulfills Ray's wish for revenge, basically. So that's the film. Is two young men from different walks of life. One who came from an intact family, but's father was killed for being a political dissident. That's Ray. And then Peter, who you really learn that he came from a pretty unstable environment, but comes out of it with the sense that you have to make every day better to keep going, like to keep walking, to keep moving on. So, anything you want to add? That's kind of my summary of the plot here. And
Oh
yes,
man.
Nathan, it's you can watch. So Nathan is vision impaired, and he was saying, "Is it something a blind person can listen to?" I really think so. I would
Yeah.
really say so. You're going to
It's
hear a
very
lot of
character
audio
driven.
cues.
It's
Yes,
entirely character driven. It's there's no spectacle really. I mean, there's shock value of like
yes,
very, very graphic deaths,
absolutely.
but
That blew me away too. No
you
pun
know,
intended there. I
yeah,
couldn't believe it.
yeah,
It
that
was
was
very
like
gritty.
that was a little overkill.
Yeah,
No pun intended.
I
But
was going to say.
sorry, yeah, that was
No,
almost
no,
a
it's
dad
yeah.
joke. Um, but it was I don't know, there at parts it almost got boring, but
Mm,
maybe intentionally because it was just no change in scenery really. So I saw it as entirely character driven. It was like watching a Shakespearean stage play or a purely character driven Broadway play or something, or
yeah,
off Broadway play kind of
yeah.
a thing. Not to insult Stephen King,
No, I
but
mean, you could do it in one room. You could really put this
yeah,
on
you
and
really
just have
could.
the
I mean,
illusion of
it's the
movement.
dialogue. Just listen to the dialogue. So if
Mm,
somebody is sight
yes.
impaired, then yeah, no problem. But
Yeah,
of all of Stephen King's stuff, this would be the one
yeah, I think so
to
too.
just listen to. Absolutely. Um, there's so much in there.
Yeah,
I don't know if King wrote the screenplay or other people wrote the screenplay because there's the aspect of the very obvious thing to me. It took until after the movie was over to think, wait a minute, that was kind of a commentary on Vietnam,
yeah,
and it was his first story, ever published, I guess. Um, so times have changed, sociology has changed,
yeah,
but I the first thing I thought of was reality shows and
yes.
the reality show culture, which I know well. I don't know if I'm
Hmm.
allowed to say what I actually quit. I quit a thing that was in its second season, and it was really harsh and strange and weird in a way that this movie reminded me of.
Uh,
I was the chief contestant person in a reality show many years ago in the second season of it.
right.
And they made you sign a contract that we can belittle, degrade you throughout the world for all eternity. It literally
Yep.
says that in the contract. And I
Yep. I
quit
was
it.
on two game shows,
Were you?
and
No
you have
way.
to sign. Yeah, one episode. One's not
That's
out yet.
awesome.
Yeah. Well, one of them's
Oh,
out,
one's
and I
not
got
out yet.
one
Wow.
of them. I was on Person, Place, or Thing, and I was on four episodes, and that was
Nice.
really, really fun. Yeah, that was a fun
Oh, that's
experience.
cool.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well,
So
this was
I kind
more
of
love
understand.
related, so it was not fun
No, and
at
I was just
all.
say, like,
It
I'm
was
sure the things we
creepy and
signed were
weird.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
had a blast, and I
Yours was
enjoyed.
like intellectual.
I
Mine
mean,
was
yeah,
not intellectual whatsoever. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
it
yeah.
was chest thumping and this sort of thing.
Oh,
Ba-
yeah. Okay,
bathing
got it. I
bathing
think I'm.
suit wearing, chest thumping type love stuff.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
So anyway,
yeah.
but didn't it remind you of not a game show, but a reality show, like The Real World or something like that, where people don't quite know why they're doing it, but they think it's probably better than doing what they were doing, which was nothing. just staying at home, doing nothing, not
Yeah.
advancing their lives. Like there was
Yeah.
social commentary of that sort,
Yes.
which you could apply. I can't help but think a little bit of Rob Henderson too, with
Mhm.
his story of why not join the military because
Right.
it's something,
Yes.
something will happen different from living in my small town
Yeah.
where it seems like I'm going nowhere. So I need to do something. But then
Yes.
again, isn't that the beginning of any hero's journey too? So we can get
Mhm.
into Joseph Campbell and Jung and things like that too. The hero's journey is behind every story really, but every
Right.
male story for sure,
Yeah. Yeah.
almost word for word or concept for concept
Yeah.
from Jung and Joseph Campbell. Because you see at the beginning, all the guys are hanging out and they're like, yeah, we're going to do this thing. And it's a thing. And there's nothing else to do but the thing. So I'm
Right.
sure everybody signs up for the thing.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
that
why are you here? Oh, I'm Joe. I'm
right.
Jim.
Mhm.
And I come from Indiana and I come from California. And
Yep.
all the guys are meeting each other, and it reminds you of guys enlisting in the military and boot camp, but then again, it reminds you of people getting together for the initial cast call for a reality show. So
Yeah,
it's
that's a
both,
really good point.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's well, and so I know Ray makes some comment in the movie, like, might as well be mandatory because,
Yeah.
what venues do we have to get anywhere? And so that's also kind of what I was reading in the Wikipedia description. And also the screenplay was from JT Malner, and I don't believe I've
Hmm.
seen, but it was adapted from Stephen King for sure, of course. It's
Yeah.
maybe some different things were added, like dialogue and stage direction and different things that make it a movie, because obviously it's going to be very different.
Well, I'm
Um,
thinking the sociology because if Stephen
yes,
King wrote the book or the short story and then wrote the screenplay today, he has
yes,
changed as a person, right? He's like I was gonna say highly political. I'm sure he was political back then too, but he's different, today politically than the way things were back then when you were
right.
political. And Vietnam was a thing back then. Today, you'd be hard pressed to find a high school graduate that knows any event of Vietnam or
Mm,
or the
yeah,
concept or the theme or what it was all about or what caused it or what ended it. Probably
right,
nobody knows graduating high school today. I'm that's a little dark and derogatory, perhaps, but there's some basis in reality there. But now today we have reality shows and we have today's crazy politics and people hating each other and men
right,
falling behind, boys falling behind in school and
right,
advancement in their lives. So that struck
right,
me too. It was like, I think that's why I thought of reality shows before I thought of joining the military, even though it was
right.
obviously a military themed young man joins or is monitored by, military personnel who will basically get them all killed except
Yeah,
for one
right.
who wins the
Well, it's
contest, right?
yeah, it's very proto Hunger Games and
Yes.
proto decades before, and then
Proto
also
Hunger Games,
it was
right.
way
Yeah.
before. Which is an interesting parallel I noticed was that the boys in the Long Walk were much more collegial and kind to each other on the whole than in the Hunger Games, where it's the same end goal that you survive, but it's set up where you hunt each other. And so it's man versus man,
Right,
child versus child. And so it's much more vicious. So I don't know how
right.
much sabotage could have been done in the Long Walk, and there was some done, but it seemed like the boys all pretty much made this implicit agreement, and explicit in some cases, that we're not gonna cause each other to lose, or in other words, to die. We're just gonna let nature and fatigue take its course, and whoever goes, goes. So, I
Well,
mean, yeah.
let me interject.
Yeah,
You
please.
made me think of various related stories at the same time there. You made me think of The Most Dangerous Game,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Of
hunting
course.
the classic, story, hunting a human,
Yep.
as if they are prey or an animal. You made me think of, yes, the Hunger Games. You made me think of like the Squid Game,
Oh
right?
yeah.
It's kind of Squid Game
Desperation.
before there was Squid Game.
Yep.
Um,
The Running
you
Man.
you made me think of Running Man. You made me think even of The Menu with Ray Fiennes,
Brilliant. Yeah.
right?
What a
Like
great movie.
it's selling death. The
Oh
menu
yeah.
is selling death, but it's also revenge themed. But you also made me think of classic male initiation stories as well
Yep.
as more somewhat modern films. And the two films I always think of when I think of male initiation, and you could think of war or joining the military or just going to boot camp and not going to war, all as initiations, like some of the last remaining initiation actual rituals and ceremonies. High school graduation does not count. College graduation does not count. So joining the military, getting fired, getting broken up with, I kind of think of today's traumas as the only remaining initiation experiences for males
Mm,
and females both. They're
yeah.
initiating experiences, right? But I thought of the 300 and Wanted. I always think of those exact two, and I'll tell you why I think of them. And I'm bringing this in. We're talking about the Stephen King film, but I'm bringing these other films in because they aren't just character studies. They are a plot, a story in a thematic and historical context, both of them,
Yes.
and they're both deeply Oedipal. So they both of those movies branch us into psychoanalysis, the Oedipus, and even Jung, in the sense that both are about use of anxiety and how anxiety must be present for a true initiation to occur. And specifically, the ultimate anxiety ought to be present, which is death, the fear of death.
Right.
And so with the 300 and Wanted, which by the way stars James McAvoy and Morgan Freeman and Angelina Jolie, um, is also about anxiety. The 300 is about anxiety. And this Stephen King film is about anxiety in the sense that if you don't have such high anxiety to the degree that death could occur, then it's not an initiation. Because what initiation ought to do and has throughout all human history, at least for boys and probably for girls, especially in some cultures, was it convinced the child that they would die, but then they don't. And
Mm,
that's either through their own craftiness, natural talent, ability to just like pull themselves up by the bootstraps and kill the tiger or the bear or the lion or whatever it is they had to kill, the wolf in the case of
right.
the 300. And they either did that or the elders of the village descended and rescued them from actual danger. But they thought they were going to die. And by going through that ritual of initiation, anthropologists would talk about this more than psychologists, unfortunately, because I think it's a fourth imprinting phenomenon for humans.
Yeah.
It should be in psychology, not just anthropology.
Sure.
But what happens is you think you're going to die, then you don't, either because you're that clever and good and talented, and or because the elders saved you, or there never really was true deadly danger. And now, what is left to fear in
Yes.
life? What is left
Right.
to fear the rest of your life? Nothing. Everything can be dealt with logically, cognitively, intellectually, honoring the emotions, but not terrified to the point of paralysis.
Right. Right.
That's initiation. You beat the fear of death before death comes.
You're making me think of the Kingsman. movie too, where there's like the drill where the water fills up in the room when the young men when the applicants are basically in there and they have to survive that, and they have a lot of initiation and kind of hazing and to become spies. If you ever saw the Kingsman movie, the first one.
I'm not sure I recall it. There was like locked vaults behind doors, and
Yeah.
Colin Firth is
Yeah.
wearing our favorite glasses. He's in our
Yeah.
glasses club, by the way.
Oh, that's
Colin
right.
Firth.
That's right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. He's dapper. So,
Yeah.
but to that point, yeah, initiation, desensitization.
Well, facing deadly, what you think is a deadly scenario, and may or may not be. Usually,
Right.
no, it should not be. But by it being a deadly, seemingly deadly scenario, you surmount the fear of death, you overcome it, which
Yep.
reminds me quite a bit of EMDR, reminds me of
Yes.
trauma counseling, which is why today, since we don't have formalized rituals anymore and we don't have fathers and mothers equally, you know, arbitrating culture, then what's left is traumas, for us to survive traumas and get through them and process them. And so I thought this whole we may be reading more into Stephen King than is there. I mean, maybe he is a genius with a 180 IQ. I don't know if anyone knows his IQ, but there's so much in there to mine, whether
Yes.
purposely or not purposely. There's so much to mine that you can literally say that these boys, yes, it's like the Vietnam War or probably any war. It's enlisting, it's joining something. You don't know what will happen. It's an initiating experience. It is a highly masculine experience. Males are the killers of the species. Females can kill through other means, than that which is just purely physical and brutally physical. They can, but they tend to not as much as the physicality of males with their
Sure.
higher, musculature. Um,
Right.
so there's that. There's there's the likelihood of death, which makes war and the military different from initiation rituals throughout all human history, because those were technically somewhat safe. They were at least being monitored and protected by elders. And I think part of King's point is that he makes these, the colonel or the captain or, the officers, the people with the guns, the soldiers with the guns, who were both male and female in this film. They're the bad guys, but they're this dystopian, faceless, anonymous. Even Mark Hamill's character is just one dimensional. I mean, I like that you liked his portrayal, but the writing of the part was so one dimensional. It's like, so this is like George Orwell's Big Brother as a character, one dimensional characters who clearly aren't at all protecting those they should be charged with. So if King is making a point about the Vietnam War, for sure he's saying that the leadership was just throwing boys to their deaths pointlessly and for no reason.
Yeah. It was definitely a commentary on disposability of individual life. Um, I think the major characters really fleshed out to be like your prototypical um fascistic type of like military dictator almost. So I mean, it's interesting. It was played very well by Hamill, like kind of the heel character. Um, Nathan, who is upholding the first, that's his name on here. He pointed out it's very much like Fight Club 2 with like, know that you'll die one day. It's a very good point about like
Mm.
having to fabricate a form of initiation as this sort of male on male primal engagement to feel alive viscerally, um, in the midst of like feeling replaceable and very disconnected in profession and personal life. I mean, that was in the late 90s. Think about how much more that's relevant.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Another reflection, maybe this aligns with Nathan in some like opposite side of the coin way. But I also saw the film as just life for males. Like life can be a long walk. Um, if we get really um, evolutionary psychology based here and say, what is the most primitive male nature and has been since there were cavemen and women? Um, Males never stopped doing, they never stopped killing, hunting, vigilance, guarding,
Yeah,
protecting 24/7 round the clock.
right.
So it reminded me, the film reminded me of primitive maleness, but common maleness, even in today's
Yes.
world. If you work or run, or you're a father, or you want to be, or you're the head of a company or a family, or you run something, and you have this role of provider, protector, vigilant, income generator.
Right.
And even if you aren't, and your your mate is, you still would like to be. Part of you would like to be, and part of her would like you to be. Apparently, by all this research in evolutionary psychology. So I thought of the life of men is what this film was, and we all die. We do die. We eventually all die. So I kind of saw it that way too, not just
Mhm.
reality show,
Right.
like sicko, dark reality show, nor just parable of the evils of war, but I also saw it as the life of men and how we compete, but how we collaborate. And sometimes we carefully collaborate and carefully compete. And sometimes it's a bit of both. And
Yes.
sometimes we misconstrue the intentions of each other.
Yes.
And you and I even went through something a few weeks back where I was, late and harried, and I had five things going on at the same time, and I cracked a little joke, and I was like, I think I hurt Jeremy's feelings with this joke that I cracked. And it took a little talking on both of our parts without going into the details of what it was. I don't think it was a big deal unless you do.
No, not at all.
But it was one of those male combined collaborator, competitor, but not really competitor. I actually think an age difference is really great to not compete.
Mm,
But it's got to
it's
be
a
the
good
right
point.
amount of age. I think like 15 years is perfect for
Mhm.
mentoring and collaboration between males. Um, but if you're
Mm,
exactly the same age as another male, like you would be in the military when you're a conscript,
mm.
you're someone's going to die, so you're probably thinking these things. Who's going to die? It needs to not be me. Does that mean I need to be dutiful and helpful to my colleagues? Or does it mean that if I overdo that, they could use me and throw me in front of the Viet Cong? Or who knows what they're thinking
Yes.
in war? But these masculine instincts are real, and they're primitive, but they somehow helped keep the species alive through eons, not eons, but 300,000
Mm,
plus years. So they're good and useful in some way, but they
right.
need to be used in a noble way that is guided by character structure around it, good character, goodness, ethics. And I think that's what the two bros were, who were fast friends at the beginning, and they really deepened and deepened in their friendship. by the end. I think that's what that was about. It was that male instincts, and stop me if I'm like going on and on and on, but male instincts in and of themselves are a good in that they contributed to keeping our species alive for 300,000 plus years. There's something good about them. But by themselves, I think King showed us all the dark and twisted ways they can go if they are unguided. And
Yeah,
since Mark Hamill was not guiding anything, he was a dark force, ironically, given that
yeah,
he was the good guy and Darth Vader was the bad guy in Star Wars. But he was
right.
the dark force, so he wasn't guiding these. It was Lord of the Flies almost in a way.
Yes, I thought of that. Yeah, you nailed
It
it.
was that too, Lord of the Flies, right? So masculine instincts
Yeah,
aren't bad in and of themselves, but what is bad is the absence of character structure, goodness ethics,
yeah,
intuition, generativity surrounding those instincts, which the two best friends, I think, exemplified by the end, especially when they mutually were, without ruining it for everyone who hasn't seen it, they would sacrifice their lives for their brother, for the other. They would sacrifice their own life for the other friend.
yeah. No,
It was
you put it great. Go ahead, keep going.
it. I'll finish with this. It's Aristotle's highest level of friendship. It's a friendship of nobility from Nicomachean ethics. It's a friendship built on character and on goodness, not just on convenience or fun or entertainment, but goodness. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it has a good balance. I know we hear the dreaded S word a lot of stoicism, and it gets a bad rap, it gets a good rap, it gets a medium rap. I think it gets just the right sort of rap in this film.
Yeah.
I think the young men are shown to be pretty self-possessed. They're shown to take stuff seriously when they need to, and they're shown to have humor and also vulnerability. The two main leads, and you just masterfully talked about this, like, they learn to trust each other. Well, they learned that. They chatted in small talk fashion and then got deeper from there. I mean, I don't want to sound I'm not a technology hater. We're talking right now via the wonders of technology. And I would
Yeah.
add the long walk shows what happens when you are forced to rely or not rely if they're dangerous on people that are right in front of you for a constant journey. So I think the long walk, not to be too cliche on my end about it, is really a great metaphor for life because you have to keep going. And some people are going to finish sooner. Some people are going to make mistakes that are massively um, ruining. And in the movie, the thing is everything, and this happens in metaphor and with story is, things are dialed up to 10 and what's real becomes symbolic and what's minor becomes major. So like, getting a Charlie horse and your leg hurting is a momentary issue for us, but for someone in the walk, it's game over. So
Yeah.
I think in the
Yeah.
playground of literature, you get to have all these stand-ins for deeper concepts. And so
Sure.
the idea of
Sure.
nobody gets out alive, that's a big life thing. I mean, and you said it earlier, like everybody eventually dies. So what do you do with that? How do you approach your fellow people on the same trajectory? Do you try to outmaneuver them unfairly? Do you operate from a place of pure cynicism? Well, we see that that doesn't work out well. Do you operate from pure trust? No, that's not smart either. So the movie does a good job of balancing that, I think, of showing that there's a time to be really mature, which is definitely not every movie's message. Like the idea of maturity is not really one you hear a lot. So I think it was great how it showed that maturity is necessary. And also you do have to trust some people. You do have to, and you might get a better
Mm.
benefit.
Yeah.
You might have someone who shares your mission quite literally. Um, I mean, there's a lot of denial and minimization in it, and I think that could be healthy. Like if you're in it's healthy and not. Like, should everyone have signed up for that? Probably not. Many of the people there didn't have a chance, the movie showed us, but they signed up
Yeah.
anyway. So they probably should have been a little more sober minded. Um, But, like, it struck me how this whole movie is about a walk toward death for all but one, and it plays as kind of like Stand By Me or some other kind of Stephen King work where that's less
Yeah.
about the horror. It mixes in the horror is in not knowing who is next, and that we're gonna be shown that almost complicitly in the movie, like, "No,
And you care
you're
about the
seeing."
characters, and
Yeah, you do.
you care
You
about
do.
everyone involved. It's almost the tragedy of the fact death exists. We are
Yes.
going to lose everyone eventually, and they are going to lose us eventually. So, and that's tragic and horrific in a
Yeah.
way. Not
Oh,
in a way. It's
absolutely.
it's horrific, but we are all called upon to endure it and
Yeah.
experience it. It's going to happen. Um, so I think that was the brilliant summation of what goes on. Um, I wanted to say that each individual character reminds me of like the spectrum of a Shakespearean cast.
Yes.
There's somebody
Brilliant.
representing every angle on a theme, every angle on a scenario in Shakespeare, right? Everything is explored completely,
Yes.
emotionally. And so you have so what went wrong? And if a tragedy is always useful in the same way comedies are useful and hero stories are useful, they teach us lessons, then tragedies, the sad mask in the theatrical symbol is
Yes.
telling us don't do this. Don't do this
Yes.
thing, right? So what are all the things to not do in this Stephen King film? Don't be foolish, right? Like, don't go running up to the guard and be like, "Hey, I got to tie my shoe, dude. My shoe needs
Yes.
tied. Don't
Yeah.
kill me, okay? Because I need to tie my shoe."
Yeah.
Or so don't be foolish.
Right.
Also, don't be nihilistic.
Right.
Don't be a nihilist. Because at one point, the one guy is just like, "F it. What's the point of any of this? There's no point to anything." And he gets trampled by the tank
Yes.
very graphically.
Oh,
I
yeah.
guess we're doing like all kinds of spoilers here, so it's still
Yeah,
worth
well,
seeing and listening to
and
people.
we can actually put a spoiler alert in the when we
Yeah,
publish it if you want.
yeah,
Like, I mean, it
yeah,
is a movie review, and anybody joining us now, usually when we're gonna do one of these, I'm just gonna say all the time, we're probably gonna go through the whole thing because that's how you live life too, and how we analysts
yeah,
like to parse people's personal stories is what's happened, how is it chronologically? Life is lived
right.
front back to front, but analyzed front to back off. Very, very story driven podcast we have here. Continue on, continue.
Who are the characters?
Yeah,
It's almost like Nicomachean Ethics, Aristotle. It's going through the virtues
yeah.
and their twin vices, right? The
Mm,
the the golden
brilliant.
mean of Aristotle is every virtue has two vices, one of deficit, which is obvious, but one of
Yes.
excess, which is
But
maybe not so obvious. So
right.
the guy who was like extra, the blonde guy, you said his last name, the blonde guy who, Berkovich or something, who's teasing and teasing and taunting
Yes.
and is like
Barkovich. Yes.
extra male, giving shit to other guys.
Yeah.
That
Barkovich.
can be overdone. And when it was
Yes.
overdone, it got somebody killed. But if it's underdone, there's a lack of bonding between the males and a lack of morale. And one of the ways
Yes.
it's underdone, the male bonding through throwing shit at each other verbally to keep each other awake all night for days and days straight,
Yeah.
probably just like Vietnam. The way it was underdone is with the super spoiler. Shut off your earbuds now if you don't want the super spoiler. But
Good call.
Mark Hamill's relative, let's say,
Yeah.
doesn't say anything the whole time. So he's
Yeah.
not bonded with any of the others through utter mutism.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the other guy's not
Yes.
bonded from being too much of a kind of a dick, to be
Well,
honest.
right. Right. Well,
for
it's
allowed to say
acting
that.
out. I think Barkovich is an example of, like, he doesn't know how to turn his impulses into speech, and so he turns it into acting out as a defense, like, causing chaos, and then toward the end, again, super spoiler, he says, "I've never really had friends. I really regret what happened to that kid. I didn't mean to get him killed. I'd like to hang with you guys and blah blah blah." So that shows, like, he's explaining, like, this is not, like, I don't know how to do this whole bravado bonding thing. And so that was really spelled out nicely for us as, analysts, to be able to say, "Oh, well, yes, this is a character who is highly erratic and doesn't know, like," and he had a really anxious, upset energy and would fling wildly and be very unpredictable.
Oh
And so
yeah,
he
and then
just
he
kind of,
hit himself. He
yeah,
was hitting
yes,
himself almost like
yes.
reminds you of, autism, more significant autism. So there's that, right? Like the writers probably just kind of threw that in there because he was otherwise competent to have a conversation.
Well, what about
But
male borderline personality disorder and self-harm? What about that as kind of a form of self-harm, and he was just so emotionally erratic? Not saying, I mean, I
yeah,
can't differentially diagnose it, but, like, he it was just very, and of course, like, it harkens back to the traumatic backgrounds, some of which we know, some of what we don't, of those characters in their environment.
well, I thought neurotic.
Ooh,
I thought, right, if supposedly 70% of humans are neurotic level
right.
behavior, we all have growing to do. And movies and stories are what our minds digest to try to learn tragic lessons and heroic lessons and comedic lessons to get
Yes.
out of our neuroticism as best we can and to grow.
Yes.
So I didn't think of him as, borderline male. That's 15% of borderlines, right?
Yeah.
85% female, 15% male. 85% of antisocials are male and
Yep.
15% are female.
Sure.
So you're more likely to have more antisocial personality disordered men in the military if
Yeah.
there's going to be a higher preponderance of them.
Mm.
But I didn't see it that way. I saw it as they're all neurotic. They're all
Yeah.
neurotic in their own way, in their
Yeah.
unique ways. It's all neurotic defenses. Even Philip Seymour Hoffman's son, the star of
Yeah.
the
Ray.
film, Ray, even he is like traumatized slash neurotic and a little bit on the foolish side,
Mm.
oversharing at the beginning to a degree, not
Yep.
severe, but he learned to not quite overshare as much, but he learned the value of camaraderie, the importance of team cohesion. They're kind of a team, but they're kind of not
Yeah.
because everyone but one is going to die. So how do you have a team when it works like that?
Yeah.
But isn't that also life? Because everybody's going to die, and some are going to die before others. Um, I'll say this: I lost in the past year. I lost both of my college roommates.
Mm.
They
So
both died for
sorry.
different reasons, and one died and young,
Mm.
like early 50s. One of a heart attack, one of cancer, and you never know
No.
who's going to last and who isn't. But we're all going to die, and what did you share with the people you care about while they were living, and what did you do with that? So I think the whole movie, and it might be saying war is pointless, but nihilists might say life is pointless, and which reminds me of the importance of Viktor Frankl and finding meaning and the importance of meaning itself. Um, it should be no surprise to us all that all the research coming out about the importance of meaning and what you study with your work in the area of digital life and
Yeah.
what happens when people lack meaning and what is that doing to the mood and
Yeah.
to our purposes for life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's selling a meaning. from influencers to cults to perversions of faith and so much. Just take one, right? Buffet of meaning, and all the
Yeah.
more the irony, like a choice decision fatigue from that. I think,
Oh, yeah.
and I think
Paradox
it's
of
a,
choice. I
you
would
got
apply
it.
in dating, in book purchases.
Yeah.
Jay
Well, you,
Shetty. There's Jay Shetty in California, and there's Brene Brown, and Be
wow.
Vulnerable, and there's Tony Robbins, and there's
Yes.
the Law of Attraction. There was.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yeah.
that's still popular.
It is. It's just called manifestation a lot of the time, like
Right.
mobilizing that law of attraction to manifesting. I mean, I think it's not a coincidence that the movie focuses on adolescence, like the move from adolescence to young adulthood, because that's that identity versus role confusion phase transitioning into intimacy versus isolation. And so when you have that shift, I mean, you're trying to figure out who you are and who you bond with. And in that movie, it combines the two of, okay, I'm a teen. I don't really know who I am totally. And now I'm transitioning to young adulthood. I'm trying to get some money and a wish through this walk because I'm realizing, you know, life is going to be untenable at this phase. Like I
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
to secure the future for myself and family. And, I thought that was, I'm now putting that together because that, I mean, Erickson's psychosocial stages are pretty valuable. Um,
They are.
and you could even say a lot of them you can cycle through. You can look at things that weren't resolved because those have like failure to resolve as well, kind of like the Aristotle Nicomachean ethics have those of excess and deficit. You could probably map some of those onto like what age you kind of learn. So I mean, that'd be a fascinating project, maybe.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, you do have those who try to introject like the warlike ethos and the one character that we don't want to spoil, the one who didn't share too much. I think he was really trying to be all stoic and
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
self-reliant. It didn't work. And I think it was portrayed in a good way. The lesson wasn't self-reliance doesn't pay off. And the
Right.
lesson wasn't that you need to always be self-reliant. It was you have your journey and it intersects with others. And it's very, very tricky to portray that. So
It
that's
is.
I'm very impressed that it was this film was able to
Well,
do that.
it's kind of like does the son of the dictator, there I go blowing it for everyone. Does the son of the
Mhm.
dictator or the pointless nihilistic military chief or the head showrunner of the reality show, how is he supposed to make his way through life and bond and contribute in some way? He found his best way of doing that was to be as stoic as possible and as private as possible. And he reminded me, if it's about war and Vietnam and human behavior throughout the history of all war, he reminds me of the nobleman's children, like the Prince William, the Prince Harry, joining the helicopter force of Britain,
Mm,
of the UK, right? And
yes.
laying low and but contributing genuinely, but you don't know much about what's going on for them while they're in it.
Yeah.
But it's expected as a nobleman to be part of that. So I thought that brought the either aristocracy or pseudo aristocracy in the case of this film, illegitimate, um, not legitimate leaders, children of leaders, nepotism.
Yeah.
How does nepotism play in? And how does an incredibly narcissistic father leader play in? That can be explored too. That's explored
Yes.
in the film. Another film I think of is about death and initiation is Into the Wild
Mm,
with what's that guy's name? Hirsch. Emil Hirsch is in Into the Wild.
Yes. Yes. Yep.
Um, and he's trapped in a bus on the other side of the river in Alaska in the middle of winter, and he dies of starvation and or poisoning because he thought nature would just be his father for him, since
Mhm.
his actual father. But since we're talking about Jaws, who was the star of Jaws? Not Richard Dreyfuss, but
He's one of them. He's
Rich,
one of the
not
stars for
not
sure.
Richard Dreyfuss. Who else is in Jaws?
Roy Schneider is in there.
Royce,
Robert Shaw is Quint, but Roy Schneider is Martin Brody. He's the
Roy Scheider.
Martin. Yeah, you might be thinking him of Roy Schneider. He's
Yeah.
the main cop guy.
Well, he plays the father of Emil Hirsch in Into the Wild,
Right.
right?
Okay.
And he's incredibly narcissistic. Um, and he's injurious to his son and really injures his psyche
Oh,
to the
is it
point where
William
he's like,
Hurt?
was it William Hurt? It might have been.
Walt McCandless
I
is
thought it was
William Hurt.
yeah. I thought it was Roy Scheider, but maybe not.
Mhm. Anyway, continue.
One
Yeah,
of
you're
those
good.
old guys losing
Yeah,
their
yeah.
hair.
William
But
Hurt was cool.
yeah, but I don't think it was William Hurt, but he was very very abusive to his son in this narcissistic abuse, verbal abuse way, always making him feel bad
Mhm.
about himself. So the kid
Right.
finally is like, "Well, I've read some books on survivalist um, techniques. I've loved camping, so I'm just gonna
Mhm.
go out into the world and just camp as much as
Yeah.
possible, and I will stick it to you, Dad, and nature will be my father. It will teach me how to be a man." But he ends up
Right.
dead because nature neither wants to hurt us specifically nor help us
Right.
specifically. It's just random, right? So
True.
that's another initiation
Yeah.
aspect,
Yeah.
is that out in
Yeah.
the world, there's no, at least in nature, I'm not talking spirituality or one's religious beliefs, but the physical
Mhm.
world, there's neither help nor hurt on purpose. We are the purposeful force in the physical world, let's say.
Mhm.
And then there's the
Yes.
spiritual world too, but in the physical world.
Well, right. And I mean, the physical is really an arena for what you garner from your social connections. I mean, that's how human beings have evolved and developed is through social cohesion. And, you know, in Scott McAdams' form, I would try to make a dry joke about that, like to greater or lesser effect with some dictators along the way, right? Like
Yeah.
there's 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 good and bad to social cohesion, but the only constant is that it is necessary for you to have some connection, no matter how what it can look like, some meaning in that way. And I think Western
Mm.
psychology got so off track with that in
Yeah.
the days of psychoanalysis, and then it went way into other directions, and now hopefully we have a better view of I like the word interdependence a lot, and it's one of those grad school words because
Oh, yeah.
dependence is not good.
Right.
Independence can be good in bursts
Can
and
be
for many
bad, though.
things. What?
Can be isolating. It can
Yeah,
be very bad. I
yeah,
mean, if you applied it to the long walk, it's very bad
yeah,
to be isolated, to be the outcast. Whether you portray yourself as the very strong one who barely talks, right?
yep, yep,
The son of Mark Hamill, or
yep,
whether you're the guy that talks so much nobody wants to associate with you. It's
yes,
bad to be an outcast. But
yeah,
I also thought the film was pure masculine behavior, or
mhm,
masculine instinctual behavior on a spectrum from boy to man.
love that.
And I think that's relevant to say in this way. Far be it, for me to, disagree with, the titans of psychology, but the one thing I personally do not subscribe to in Jungian psychology. I love the whole rest of it. I do not see there being an animus and an anima. I
Mm,
don't see there being a male part of the female psyche or a female part of the male psyche. But I think what that is the introjected opposite sex parent, which
yes,
is
I could
not the
see that.
same as you were born with it. You imprinted it, and it is a, if you're male, and this film was about males, if you're
Hmm.
male and you have this interjected good mother, remember the mother was a figure in this film. So it wasn't just purely male behavior, although
Right.
the mother was one dimensional. She was just worried about her son
Yeah.
constantly, like frantically worried. And there was a father figure in his recollections, but if he introjected this kind, loving mother to carry with him through life,
Yes.
it kind of shows that healthfulness of being having been a boy who had a good mother. And
Yes.
how does that play out through the deadliness that life will hold?
Right.
He kind of wins or
Yeah.
could have won.
Hmm.
And the other guy, did he have a mother? Was he raised by a single mom, or he was adopted? I think he said
Mm. Yes.
the man
I
of
know.
color,
Peter. Yes.
Peter.
Yes. Peter.
The,
Yeah, I
what
know.
was his background?
I-
He had a close relationship to at least one parent, I think.
yes. Protagonist. He has a facial scar from his ex.
But somebody
Uh,
died. One of his parents died or something, but they were good parents, or one of them was. I'm just thinking about being durable through this long walk called life.
yes.
What does having a good parent or mother and or father have to do with that? I think this explored that too.
It absolutely did. So I can see what you're saying for sure. I mean, I don't use that concept of the anima or animus very often,
Yeah.
if at all, in my own work. I mean, I think it can do a lot for someone mentalization wise. So that ability to kind of uh, infer what someone else could be thinking or feeling. Um,
I don't want to beat around the bush with what I mean by it. What I mean by it is I I don't think it's correct, anima and animus, when you think of the yin yang symbol being
yeah,
integration in every individual human. I think the yin yang is the masculine and feminine principles in
yeah,
a
yeah,
society or a
sure.
family or a marriage. And I don't think it applies to the individual because I do think that there are masculine instincts in biological males, there are feminine instincts in biological females, and then there are mutually very similar analogies in the functions of those two sets of instincts. And then on top of that, I think there are survival instincts in males and females equally. Like loud noise makes you jump, or a mountain lion is chasing you, you fight or flee, most likely flee or climb up a tree. Or we there are things that both sexes share, but I think Jung was correct in seeing there being masculine instincts and feminine instincts, but incorrect in attributing there being a female instinct part of a male and a male instinct part of a female. I think what he was seeing, I'm guessing what he was seeing was the maternal aspect of a male,
Hmm.
which can be temperamental in part, personality based, but also introjected from having had a mother, a
Yeah,
hopefully a good mother. But
right.
I think there can be an introjected paternal. Paternal is a bad word today, but it's real. There are fathers.
Yeah, of
biologic
course.
fathers.
Yeah.
So the father introject of the father into the female is a paternal introject.
Yes. Right.
Okay, so there's that. And then there's temperamentally just you could be a female or a male who's more of a go-getter by temperament, more of
Yep.
an action-taking human
Yes.
just individually by temperament. Even Gloria Steinem, one of the founders of first wave feminism, attributes the love of her father to her success in having the boldness to go out and create some new movement sociologically. So anyway, I wanted
No,
to say
I
that for this
appreciate
reason,
that.
when we see the error of the boys who die because they are overly kind and caring and they want to save their colleague. They want to just go save him, hug him, convince him,
Yeah.
don't slow down, don't tie your shoes, don't please just
Yeah.
don't slow down. It shows that for the male who wants to survive the life of a male, yes, there needs to be a maternal kindness ability in his collegiality with his brothers, but it can go overboard. It can be to a fault where it gets
Right.
everybody killed, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. If you stop, well, and that goes into war movies too. This
At least
idea
got him
is
killed. At least got the one you were sympathetic toward killed.
right. Like it
The
gets
one you wanted to
into
show sympathy for.
yeah. Like so, when somebody stops and they refuse
Yeah.
to keep
Right,
walking, you're
and they all
saying like you,
stop and they
yeah,
go back, they
yeah,
go backward, right?
right,
Now they're all gonna
right,
get killed if they're gonna, like,
yeah,
love this guy to death,
right,
literally to death.
right.
They
Well,
could
and
love the guy to death.
you see it in you see it in Ray having a moment where when he sees his mom on the sidewalk,
Yes.
he steps off and almost,
Yes.
gets capped, and then, his mom says, "Keep walking," and Peter drags him away. So, I mean, that's a good example of that, like, a time to greet your mom, a time to have a brief moment, it's time to keep going. Um, and I think that's pretty relevant, again, to life. Everything's just accelerated in a long walk. Everything is more condensed for movie form.
Yeah.
Compared to life. I mean, Socrates said that a man, too much music and too much gymnasium, working out is not useful. You need both together. And in other words, you need. And I'm not sharing the exact quote because the exact quote's a little dicey sounding for today. But basically, to be a well-rounded man, you need strength and culture. And so the long walk is a story of strength and culture, the strength to move forward and the ability to have mutually satisfying conversation and camaraderie. And I mean, it struck me at the beginning before everybody started walking, the boys shared jokes, humor, conversation, pastimes, all very normal stuff, really small talk. Um, and, when the character that Barkovich, like he didn't really fit with that. He either said odd stuff or he was withdrawn. And
Yeah.
so he's painted pretty early on, like, oh, he doesn't know how to hang, basically, to be more casual describing it. So I
Right,
think
right.
that's a good summary of it is to be a man, you need strength and you need um communication and trust, and either one of those alone might not be enough. So, I mean, that's a
Yeah,
huge thing.
I mean, it's exploring all angles, right? So there are more paternal boys by personality style. And
Yep.
I'm not saying more masculine, but more paternal, more coaching,
Yeah.
encouraging, pushing, drill sergeant kinds of
Yeah.
kids. But then there are more soft, gentle, kind, maternal ones from an
Yep.
emotional. standpoint.
Mhm.
And I think there also were cognitive styles too, like the Asian man who revealed by the end that he was actually married when the rest of them weren't
Yeah.
married. This guy was
Yes.
married, and his style was just obsessively go forward, not thinking. Don't even think, just go, go, go. Don't alter your speed, don't alter anything. And then eventually he couldn't hang with the other guys in terms of humor. He was humorous just by he was kind of the butt of their jokes and sometimes in some ways. And
Mhm.
eventually he stops talking to them because he doesn't get it completely, but it's for the sake of he's got to plow ahead like an obsessive person.
Yeah.
And then I think there were others who were also like really right-brained, not
Mhm.
obsessive, the opposite of obsessive, like the guy tying his shoes or, or anyone who would like stop, or the writer who was like with the broken foot,
Yeah.
who, would stop and observe things and take notes and things like this. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
there
yeah.
are all kinds of people there. Um, yeah. So
Great point. And that's and again, I liked that. The different temperaments and ways of handling
yeah.
it and the different defense mechanisms. I mean, I think it's very you could say intellectualization is at play with the
Oh,
character.
I know. I almost lost it. I almost forgot like the exclamation point at the
Yeah,
end of my
please.
my rant about Jung is this. The reason I don't think there is an animus and an anima
Mhm.
is because it's an illusion. The absence of masculinity that is grounded and strong and initiated is not feminine. The absence of masculine is not feminine, it's
Mhm.
boyish. And in a
Mm.
female, the absence of feminine is not masculine, it's girlish.
Mm.
The absence, sometimes it's like an Escher painting. The absence of a thing doesn't automatically make it its own opposite. It's just the absence of a thing. And
Yes.
what a boy needs to grow is, I said it wrong, I think. What a boy needs to grow is not more masculinity. He's got that, he's born with that set of instincts. What he needs to grow is the apparatus around it to harvest it and channel it to survive, to help others, to win, maybe to find love. He needs to
Yes.
build apparatus around it. The same is true of a girl. The absence of femininity, or the absence of the mature expression of femininity, is not masculine, it's
Right.
girlish. And a girl needs to grow the apparatus around the feminine instincts to be able to manifest all that is possible with the power of those.
Right. Very much sublimation, very much taking
Sublimation, yeah.
your anxieties,
Yeah.
your tensions, the superego, the id, channeling it into ways that you find personally for yourself and for others fulfilling, which is as tall an
Yeah.
order as it sounds. I mean, that's a great bow on the top. But I mean, you did have the interesting defense mechanism. You had intellectualization, right? Like
Right.
it's a
Right.
story. I'm going to write this down. I'm going to pay attention to detail. I'm going to make it all an exercise in wit to make the horror of it less immediate, which is clever to a point. I mean, you've got extreme repression and it breaking when someone realizes they cause another walker to basically get killed with Barkovich, like having a break,
Right.
not being able to
Right.
repress.
Right.
Um, you've got a lot of reaction formation. You've got a lot of posturing in the face of fear. And I think, see, that's another interesting thing is it's done very well. There is a real reason to fear, and there's also a real reason to be confident, to keep up your to keep up your stride, pun intended, to continue your walk. I mean, so how do you manage that? Well, you have the ability to joke and let the steam out and keep going enough and say like,
Yeah.
"This is scary," but I'm continuing. So that again, like it seems like the movie, the framing device of this walk where there's real danger, but also a need to keep going is such a good um have you ever heard of like a bottle episode in a TV show? Like in Breaking Bad, there was a whole episode of it in a lab. And so that's called a bottle
Oh,
episode. Like it's one setting, like one room. That's
okay,
really
one
what this
set, yeah.
was. But it was really like this in a movie where you've got this proverbial playground that has just the right ingredients to show positive masculinity and how, and I know I'm saying positive masculinity and that could be redundant if we're saying that masculinity itself is never good or bad. I get that.
Well,
Viewers
I think
though.
it's a synonym. People make stuff up, and the
Sure.
leaders in every field do. Like Martin Seligman then would be the positive psychology guy,
Ah,
and then
yes.
John Barry and Martin Seeger and Louise Liddon and Roger Kingersley and others.
Right.
I don't know if they coined positive masculinity, but all they're doing is and not to poo poo or put down their titanic works of the intellect,
Right.
but what they're doing is they're saying masculinity is raw and it's powerful, the same as
Right.
femininity is. Femininity has
Yes.
been that way all through human history as well, equally powerful. It's like nuclear fuel kind of a thing. And then what do you want to put on top of it to channel it and guide it as character?
Bingo. Bingo.
Positive masculinity. Positive psychology is the same as Aristotelian virtues.
Mm,
I mean, positive
preach.
psychology is all about the various mature ego defenses, which are human virtues.
Yes.
Aristotelian virtues is what they are. So, positive psychology applied to masculinity is
Hmm.
applying virtuous character to the core power of masculinity.
Yep.
The same would be true of femininity. If science is symmetrical,
Yep.
which it is, beautiful science is symmetrical. So the exact same thing happens for females, for biologic females. And we
Yeah.
are on bell curves. We're all on bell curves. So every man isn't exactly the same as every other man, and every woman is not the same as every other woman.
Right.
But that's because of all the other stuff on top of these core sets of instincts.
You got it.
It's the uniqueness of the higher brain, so to speak, or the your cortex and your life story, whether you're male or female.
Yeah. Are you a king, warrior, magician? What are you? I mean, you've got all kinds of those on display in the movie. I mean, I think, and also when you have a movie where people are competing against each other on the horizontal plane of they're all contestants, and then you have a higher power vertically that is the real big bad, the real antagonist. It's
Mm.
always interesting because you get the, identification with aggressor defense mechanism where it's like, well, this is the game and I'm going to honor it, almost that bootlicking mentality.
Oh,
And then you
yeah.
have the, um, and to an extent, like wanting the aggressor. I mean, again, big spoiler, one of the people is literally a descendant, the child of the aggressor. I mean, how much more can you identify than that? But then you also have displacement. You have Barkovich as this mad dog character who, rather than channeling the aggression into saying, let's keep walking and realize this is a messed up situation and we're just going to try to get out one of us alive, but we're going to be diplomatic about it. Like Barkovich is like, no, like I want to take out the people that I can, maybe that are even weaker, and taking that mentality. And like, so
Uh-huh.
that's where rage can go
Yeah.
too. So it's very interesting. It's like, um, that makes me think, like, so again, the storytelling device of two different planes of conflict, your
Yeah.
peers and someone that put you in the situation. And how do we deal with it? In a lot of movies, they would band together and overcome it. But in this movie,
Yeah.
the tragic
Yeah.
element being written in is that's just not possible. Only
It's not gonna
one
happen. It's
can do
there's
it.
it's destined. It's destined to be tragic yet realistic.
Yeah.
I you made me think for a second there. I'm trying not to lose it. you made me think of what is the prize, and there is no prize
Mm,
because you got to know Mark Hamill's not going to give anyone anything at the end,
mm,
right?
mm.
Like I was expecting there to be no winner.
Ah,
Like
yeah,
it
yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
all you're all getting used for the reality show.
Right, right.
That's it. That and you're a fool if you think you're gonna get a prize at the end. And then now I apply that to life and it's like, oh, okay. I guess if you don't have any deeper beliefs or spirituality to you, and you were a nihilist, you could see life as being pointless and having no reward at the end. You could see it that way too. Um, but then you made me think they do discover all of them, really, I think, discover all the boys, discover the reward is the present. It's existential. It's existential therapy. It's existentialism. The
Yeah.
reward is the present moment that they share with each
Mhm.
other. That's
Yeah,
it. That's the
right.
reward of life. It's the jokes, it's
Yeah,
the teasing, the taunting, it's having made it over yet another hill that was
yeah,
impossible to stay 3 miles an hour going up.
yeah,
It was the impossibility. Didn't you think parts through this movie where you were like, "They've been walking 5 days.
yeah.
That's not possible.
Right,
Humans can't do that." But then if
right.
you applied that to being at war, no, it probably is possible. I guess that was
Yeah.
a weird thing to say.
No, I
It's
think
been
that yeah,
done.
right.
Men have had to do that.
Mhm.
Yeah. But the
Well,
reward is the present. It's and each other's camaraderie.
what's interesting to me is you made me think of the fact that it's initiation, they wouldn't have gotten that camaraderie or bonding unless they signed up for this dangerous game, this dangerous competition. And so the reward for initiation is that camaraderie enrichment of peers and people who've also taken a vow to see something through. And that very much does tack on to military. I want to be clear, I'm not reducing military service to a gamble, where only one survives. I think that's a the only metaphorical concurrence here really is the courage required to say, I want to make my life better, possibly. And I have a sense of honor, whatever you want to say. But people who take things very seriously and step in and take a risk. That's the only point of concurrence I'm saying is being
Yeah.
able to say, I'm going to take a risk and hope for something bigger than what I even rationally can expect I can do. Because like you said, it's an irrational amount of walking. And so the
Well,
courage to do that
remember,
bonded
it's
them.
Stephen King's specific criticism of the Vietnam
Yeah,
War
of course. Right.
in its cultural context, right? It's
Yep.
not saying all wars
No.
are pointless or being a soldier is
Yep.
pointless, being a male or a female soldier is pointless. There were female soldiers, they were the
Right.
killers. I'm not even going to explore that. That the only females in the contest were the ones who might kill you if you slowed down.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, yeah. The
although
guards.
there were males as well, they weren't exclusively female.
Mhm.
Um, but I thought you would like this. Although I could not help doing a search,
Mhm.
a summary search of what is the point of the Stephen King tale here. Um, and there's two things that stand out. One is Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's Stages of Grief. It
Yeah.
says the boy's journey mirrors Kubler-Ross's Stages of Grief in
Ah.
denial, bargaining, anger, and resignation, but they are
Mhm.
grieving their own lives in real time.
Yes.
Whoa! Wow!
Well, Kubler-Ross's stages
That's
were go ahead, sorry.
well, but then and then it goes on to say the prize as psychological release, freedom through death. For some, the goal is not the prize, but a release from the endless suffering and futility of the long walk, with death becoming the ultimate freedom.
Mm.
Escapism and manipulation. Entering the competition, there's a high probability of death. It's not a true choice. It's a manipulative method to keep the population working and compliant.
Yeah,
So
the Hunger
there's,
Games.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, that's
So
very.
you were gonna say,
Oh, well, yeah. The What did you start with there? Kubler-Ross's sages actually were created for someone who had a terminal illness. So basically, the sage of grief were created with studies of people who were actively grieving their own passing before it happened, which is sad. But that maps on very well to the long walk because people apply. We can apply it to people who've lost a loved one. But I didn't know that her stages of grief were pioneered with people who themselves were having to resign to die.
well,
So
then isn't the long walk uh, some people's cancer journey?
yeah, yeah, really. I mean,
I mean,
I would say yes.
there's that too. I mean, it's one of the reasons Stephen King is a genius, brilliant in that it's a sound structure that you can explore real psychology within. Like it's true to psychology and its nature, even though it's vague. It's vague enough that you can interpret all kinds of ways, all these different characters. I mean, we could look at this in an ego defense way. We could look at it in a cultural anthropology way, a sociology way. There are all these different angles of looking at this. There's the mother son connection. There's father son connections in this. It's Oedipal. It's a Greek tragedy at the same time.
Yeah.
It's the story of the Oedipus, um, from both the father and mother perspective
Mm,
included.
yeah.
So, but yeah, I like how this ties together with the idea Kubler Ross's stages of grief are beneficent to the patient
Yeah.
going through them, right? It's being
Yes.
real, it's integrating, it's being
Yes.
a complete person, an authentic person who
Yeah.
happens to be going through dying.
Yeah.
And that's what this was too. And I thought it was true to Kubler-Ross that all the characters by the end, including the son of Mark Hamill, were really authentic with each other by the end. Whereas early
Were.
on, it was like feeling each other out the way men do.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you can hang with me. I don't know if we're in the right category, demographic to hang with
Yeah.
each other. But by the end, it's like they all were they all deserved to be with each other, and they came from different ways of life prior to getting
Yes.
there. But by the band of brothers by the end truly were equals and
Yeah.
working together as best one can in a tragic and eventually pointless situation called life.
Well, this is a great talk about it. Yeah, I think there's so much to add on to. There's faith elements, there's sacrifice,
Yeah,
martyrdom,
yeah.
there's
Well, faith element, Geraldine, one of our uh, tried and true forever fans and
yes, true blue.
our noble elder lady, matriarch of our of our group here. She goes, uh, Jesus told his mother to get away.
Mhm.
Jesus said, get out of here.
Mm. Mm.
Even Jesus had to you kind of drop the maternal aspect when things got to the end, to the deadly serious, deadly end. He had to tell his mother to get lost, go away,
Well, in the time for
to not
mission, I mean,
suffer.
right. Christ and mission is a huge topic that deserves its own show, probably, of his demonstration of community and when there was a time for that and was a time for individual journey. So
Yeah.
yeah, this is a great talk. I am
Yeah.
mindful of
Yeah.
time, and I mean we've discussed
It's
so much. We've talked about the
a whole
defense
nother
mechanisms.
discussion, man. So for some other time.
Oh yes,
Maybe we could talk at some point about The Chosen.
yeah,
Really, really good, numerous years television series, incredibly quality acting
it is. It very much
and
is.
set
Jonathan Green.
production values. Um,
Yes.
so all right. Well, anything else? Anybody we missed that we haven't answered? Um,
Mm, I think
yeah.
the question about how to change your mind. I haven't read that book, How to Change Your Mind, that Geraldine was suggesting. Have not read that. Um,
Geraldine says, "Don't mess with the Titan gods."
right. We were
Good
talking.
advice. Good advice.
Yes. Yes. No, I mean, I think you've got really good masterclass in how you respond to challenge. You can't deny. You can repress to an extent. You can suppress and repress and realize that worrying and fretting if you're going to be the final walker, right, doesn't really help. But
Yeah.
also denying the severity of it doesn't either. Um, Sublimating your primitive defenses into bonding and getting richer meaning is kind of the optimal thing in all situations in life. There's a time to run, there's a time for quick responses, of course, but there's
Hmm.
also the time for deeper meaning. You know, a time to live, a time to die. Ecclesiastes, I think, is a great book that kind of relates to the long walk. I mean, in par for the course, because that is the long walk is kind of a story of no hope to an extent, except at the end, kind of.
Oh
Um,
man, you know what? There's. I gotta say one more thing. Something that I just realized.
please.
It's just so obvious. You don't have to be nihilistic about life and the fact it ends. You don't have to be nihilistic, and you don't have to be dark about the end, even if you haven't
Mm,
figured out spiritual beliefs for yourself yet. And here's one reason why. And it goes back to this film being all males, boys becoming men, um, and eventually dying. I just realized that the guy that shoots the guy that gives the son of that gives Ray, the son of Philip Seymour Hoffman, his
mhm.
wish at the end, he goes on living supposedly, right? Because if you win this contest, you go on living. But if the long walk is also a metaphor, not just for the Vietnam War, but for life, and
Yeah.
specifically the life of males, you will not go on living. You will die. So, what does the metaphor then mean? That
Mhm.
somebody is the winner. And I think I know who the winner is. It's it's the brightest star in your group of male friends. It's the guy that lifts everyone else up when they're down. It's the leader of the cohort of the group that will be remembered
Mm, it's
always,
a big deal.
legendary. And then it makes me think of what do fathers give their sons, and what did Ray's father give him? He
Legacy.
died. He gave him a legacy, right?
Right.
He gave
Legacy
him
and
his
virtue.
beliefs,
Yes.
virtues, his beliefs, what's true, fight the authoritarian government, whatever you believe in, the father gives the son a legacy, and that is what lasts forever.
Oh, yes.
That's what
That's
lasts
brilliant.
forever.
That
Nothing
is
else
brilliant.
lasts forever. Yeah.
Well, your values give you the strength to move on. I mean, if it's just for I'm not making light of economic hardship, like, if it's just for the money, just for whatever, it's a little bit less compelling than like I mean, in the drive for revenge, but the drive. I think we can dig deeper and say, yeah, true revenge is very potent, but as you put it, like Ray's father was very against this totalitarian system, and he was willing to die
Yeah.
for it. And Ray's
Well, for
also
truth. He
right
could have
for truth.
survived, right? He wasn't
Yes,
gonna defeat the authoritarian government. There's no way he was gonna defeat it, but he was not willing in front of his son to cower and lie
right,
and not be truthful, and that's what he gave his son, which then
right.
powered his son all the way to almost victory in the contest of life.
Yeah, and really, let's unpack that part because you could say the idea of there's genetics and memetics, and Richard Dawkins
Huh.
is it really pioneered the idea of memetics and ideas that spread, and the idea of truth, like not the idea of truth, but truths can be very powerful. And so, in a way, Ray doesn't have get to have his cake and eat it too, but he spreads memetically the idea of stopping the corrupt system. And a huge spoiler, obviously. He spreads that to Peter, who lives for that, like, and who carries out the mission after being the recipient of this inspiration that this system is ridiculous. So, and the game
Yeah.
is the long walk is ridiculous. So, in a way, that truth
Uh-huh.
wins out. It really does.
Yeah, yeah.
So, a metaphor.
So truth wins. That's the last man standing, and
Yeah.
what lasts forever is the legacy that was given.
And we
Wow.
therapists may never see what happens with our clients when they leave. We help get them equipped for life and we send them out. Because as always, the goal of therapy is to equip the client and for them to go live. So, and sometimes the client will come back. Sometimes they'll find a way to update you professionally in some capacity, but sometimes you don't know. And so you can hope that their walk that they're having um, goes really well. And so it's like when Ray didn't get to see, like he had to trust that Peter would carry that mission out. So obviously it's a very tenuous link here in ideas, but it makes me think of you're not always going to get to see how something concludes. You're going to have to just
Right.
spread the truth of your message, even if you don't get to see it. That's my point.
Right. Right. Yeah. So there's a father-son thing there.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. Same thing as the end of the 300, right?
Oh
Another
yes.
initiation story. The
Oh
end of the
oh oh
300, they're going to die.
oh
The
yes.
300 warriors, Spartan warriors, are absolutely going to lose to the million-man Persian army. They're gonna die, but what is achieved is what you're talking about, this mimetic aspect that King Xerxes is not a god king. He's
Yeah.
not a god. He bleeds.
Right.
Because King
Right.
Leonidas he manages to throw the
Got him.
spear that
Yeah.
barely cuts him and he bleeds. And so now it's
Yes.
demonstrated that
Right.
the authoritarian will be brought down. He's not a god. So that's a
Right.
legacy. Legacy of democracy, actually. That whole thing gave us democracy.
Right. Wow. That's
Part of
a
the
mic
point.
drop.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a brilliant point. Well, we could do a whole one about 300. I'm
Yeah.
certainly happy to oblige that. I've seen the movie a few times.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
did you ever watch the prequel? Did you ever watch the 300 Rise of Xerxes or whatever it's called?
No. Is it a
Mm.
movie or graphic novel
It's
animation?
actually a movie. Um,
Wow.
Rise 300 Rise of an Empire. Well, it didn't do as well, and it didn't
Yeah.
obviously have. Oh, it is a sequel. Okay, it's a sequel, but it's before, during, and after the events, and so
Oh.
there's some stuff put in it. I mean, oh, it was a box office success. So it was a success. I think that
Huh.
it just got poorer
I've gotta see that
reviews.
then. Yeah.
It got poorer review, but I mean, whatever.
Too
I
much
don't.
too much loincloth is gonna get bad press.
Man, 300 was really big in its day. That was a big deal.
Yeah,
I mean, so was Wanted.
it was. Yeah.
Wanted was. I mean, McAvoy
That's
wasn't a
pretty big.
household name yet.
No, no, I think
So,
that made him. And then Gladiator, of course.
oh, yes. The
You got
sequel wasn't bad
Gladiator.
either. The sequel was
No,
good. It
it was
just
good. It was good.
yeah, it was.
Denzel Washington, amazing. Um,
Yeah,
well, good. I mean, obviously, we can we
yeah,
can go on and on, but thank you for letting me kind of get out that last thing about legacy. The
of course. No,
That
thank you.
legacy lasts, goes on forever.
Well, that's a
It's the only
clippable.
thing that does.
That's a
Yeah.
huge clip to take. I mean, and this is kind of a legacy we're building of what good there. I mean, and my mission really, and I know yours is too, but mine, I just like to speak for myself and not define you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, to dispel psychology myths, to share truth in a world of easy answers that they're not really easy answers. They're seemingly easy answers. And then people lose, there's a lot of people who've lost faith that psychology and psychotherapy are helpful. And it's because they've been given a counterfeit and told, well, this is what it is. So, if we can share that there's more, there's wisdom, ancient and new, for those who will hear, right? The Bible verse, I'm not saying psychotherapy is gospel, that's for freaking sure, but let men that have ears hear. Let them that wish to hear, and learn a better way than nothing but platitudes of self-care. A bubble bath isn't going to cure everything. So I think of legacy
Oh,
in terms of we're in this field and make it a huge task to do something significant. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
yeah. I was just going to say Natalie Martinek, our mutual friend, Dr.
Yes,
Natalie,
of
is
course.
in India at the moment. She she's recently written about that idea of like, not self-aggrandizing, making yourself God,
Mhm.
through various cobbled together spiritual practices. Yeah.
Yes. Well,
So,
amazing. Another amazing
remarkable
episode.
people we know, right?
Oh, yes.
Including yourself. Thank you for getting together yet again.
You as well,
This has been great, and
as
love it.
always.
Every time I learn something.
Oh, I do too. The feeling's mutual. I'm excited to push this out and have our another episode of the movie cast, the
All
film
right.
film
Yeah.
therapy.
Yeah. You got it. All
All
right.
right.
I'll talk
See
to you
you
next
soon.
time. Thanks.
Yes.